I'm back today with a follow-up on my last video, Motion Parts in Cavalry. Cavalry 2.6 is now out in the wild and it's even bigger than when I last sat down to chat. I recorded my last video on Monday and now I'm sitting down on Saturday to do a part 2. The devil works hard, the Cavalry devs work even harder. This one's going to be a shorter video today, just touching on some features that maybe I didn't get to last week. If you haven't checked out my video from last week, I do recommend giving it a watch. It's a bit of a silly one. I stress test some of the features without having much of an idea how to use them. I break Cavalry a little bit, but there are some really great tips to making your workflow a lot faster. Alright, 2.6 release notes, let's go. This documentation is next level. If you're wanting to learn Cavalry in general, I really recommend reading through this. It's kind of a funny thing to say because anytime that I use a program, like the last thing I'll do is go to help and try and look through the documentation because it's usually not very good. But in Cavalry, it's a whole different situation. They have example files, really detailed information on different types of shapes, behaviors, utilities, you name it. You can get a really good understanding as to how to use the program. If not, using creators that are out there, like myself. Editable motion parts is what we're going to get into first. So if I have a look through here, a new feature, which I don't know if it was there last week, but I think this is really cool. So let me show you. I'm going to start with an ellipse and we're going to map out the path for that. So drop in some keyframes, jump forward a bit. And there we go. We have a linear path, very straightforward. As I showed you last week, if we hold Alt and drag, we can start carving out that motion path. And then I can actually hold down S. I can hold down S. I can hold down S. Okay, I had to do it a few times. Hold down S. And then you can see as I'm hovering over these little dots, it's creating a bigger diamond shape. If I click, it'll automatically create a keyframe on the path in that exact moment. I think that's a really cool way to carve out and manipulate. It's quite similar in the way of when you have the pen tool and you're creating a shape and we go to the direct selection tool on S, I can come into the shape and also do the same thing. S and click and it'll create a new point on the path. So that's the same sort of logic that they're using for motion parts. You can see as well that here, S plus click path. So if you're ever unsure, they've listed that in the corner for you. There's another really exciting thing I want to showcase. If you just click on the path, get this whole new window of a beautiful place. So if I click on some of these, you can kind of get an idea as to what's going on. Yeah, you can give those a shot. But what's even cooler is now you can add custom presets. Custom presets such as testing, wow, tester, yeah, extreme. All the amazing names that you want to put in your custom presets, you can do it. I was already testing this before we started this video because I don't want a ridiculous video to have to edit like I did last week. So it's so hard to film sometimes. Let's create our first custom preset together. So if I click on the path again, come down to create custom preset, create custom preset, create custom preset, create custom preset. Say that 20 times over. There's this new window. I can enter the preset name. I can choose the speed in which it starts at and the speed in which it finishes, as well as the influence in and the influence out. For context on what these mean, speed in, you can set a value between 0 and 2 to determine the shape speed from the first keyframe, where a value of 0 is very slow start and 2 is very fast start. 0 can be thought of as the equivalent of a horizontal handle in the graph editor. So a lot of the time, I think I'm going to be choosing 0. You can obviously change this if you want some speed at the start or the end of your motion paths. The influence is setting a length on the keyframe's handle. So where 0 is 0 length and 1 is maximum length. And allow new keyframe, I really recommend always turning this on. It'll make the motion path that you've crafted actually stay pretty well intact. I think for this example, I'm going to choose a speed of 0, 0. And let's do something really simple like 0.5, 0.5, and I can name that 50/50. And again, allow new keyframe because this will make things a lot easier. Cool. So you can see we've got slow start, slow end, and then speed in the middle. Okay, I'm going to show you an example so we can really see the fidelity of how well these presets get with the easing. You can see here on this linear path, I've already set up this on the value graph editor. So it's like sort of a 70-70 ease. Let me carve out my path again, 70-70. So yeah, it works really well when you have exponential. So when you have the same value on either side of the graph. Where it will need you to do a little bit of fine tweaking is I'm going to set 30-70. I'm going to create a custom preset again. Speed in is at 0, 0. That would be 0.3, 0.7. And we can name that 30-70. Allow new keyframe. And now you can see there's a bit of a difference here in the easing. What's happening is slow at the start, where it should be a bit sharper. You can see it's already sped up here. It should be a lot further along. The end is okay. What you can do is come into the graph editor. You can see that it's actually a little bit broken. So I'm just going to grab that and click on the handle and it'll automatically just smoothen it out. Same here, I'm going to do the same thing. Let's see if that helps a bit. I think that's a lot better. It's not perfect, but that does help. But in saying that, these devs work so fast, so I can only imagine that it's going to get even better from here on in. Once you've created a bunch of presets, you can then export all of these presets. By default, they get exported as JSON files. They will save into your library preferences, Cavalry Velocity presets if you're on Mac, or wherever this is if you're on Windows. And yeah, I think that is just like such an awesome way to create libraries with teams and really speed up your workflow so that you can get consistency across your branding assets, across your projects, working with bigger teams. Yeah, I think this is a fantastic addition to Cavalry, and kudos to the team for bringing this in. Obviously, I think there can be a lot of improvements on the fidelity of these easing presets that we create to actually really match the values that I'm inputting into the graph. But so far it's pretty good. It just needs a little helping hand when you add that middle keyframe into the motion path. I went through Pivot Tool last week. You can have a play with that. Manipulator, so it's a new 3D like viewport manipulator for the select tool. It can be used with the new lattice. Tell me in the comments how to say that word.
Lattice.
It's pretty straightforward, but we'll use a shape that's a bit easier to see. Rotating, when it comes to scaling, this is like scaling on your X, scaling on your Y. Obviously, if you hold down Shift, it moves in a uniform way. This is like world, like manipulating it within the world and then manipulating it within just the shape itself. Like similar to, I guess, what you would do in Blender and other tools. So that's exciting. I wonder if we're going to be getting more 3D things in the future. I would love to be able to manipulate duplicators in 3D space, and I know that there's been a lot of requests for that, so wait and see. It's lattice, what I said before. Here's a lattice. I just like plug it in to this as a deformer. Ah, here we go. Turn that on and you get a whole bunch of nastiness. If I click these. Oh, whoa, damn, okay. Very cool. I'm feeling like PlayStation Hagrid over here. Aww, how cute. Wait. Let me show you a creator that has done some actually good work with this. Here it is. Look! Check out his Instagram actually. He has an incredible amount of work. And he always posts these like little videos afterwards. Oh, hang on, this is using a mesh shape. It's a bit different, but anyway, close enough. You could do similar things, I think, with the lattice. I actually learned a lot from scrolling through his Instagram when I first started using Cavalry, and I'm sure you can too. There's a bunch of changes for forge dynamics, buoyancy fields. That sounds fun. Forge dynamics is up here. It's a field, so fields are here. Buoyancy field. Whee! That is so obnoxious. Vortex field, spiral forces rotating around a center point. I missed that. Oh my god. Sticky collision. Ew. Too sticky for me. Alright, I digress. Vortex field. Well, isn't that lovely? Alright, so that's it for this video. I hope you enjoy these new changes in Cavalry 2.6 motion blocks. I will link the documentation below so you can have a look. I'll be in touch soon with another one, hopefully some videos to really help make that transition into Cavalry, if you're coming from other animation software, a lot smoother. And until then, I'll see you soon.